Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. All right, today is a great day for a testimony on Sue's Healthy Minutes. Well, for that matter, every day is a great day to hear someone's It's the Bread story. I think testimonies encourage us all. My guest today is Christine Abrams, whom I'm very excited about. The way we connected is actually kind of funny. It was on a Facebook group. I think it was Milling Whole Grain Goodness or something like that. I can't remember. Christine happened to mention that she was making a special trip to Bread Beckers from out of town. Now, mind you, I had never met Christine, only saw her on this Facebook post. She was asking the group what were some of their favorite items that she should look for at Bread Beckers. Well, I was just following along, quite entertained by the comments and enjoying seeing what products were mentioned as favorites. As people responded, she then asked the group if they thought I would be there and said that she really wanted to meet me to thank me for changing her whole way of life and eating. She mentioned that she had a God story that I had probably never heard before, and one that would make her drive all the way from New Jersey to Georgia just to visit our store. Now, that really caught my attention, to drive from New Jersey to Georgia. That's when I decided to jump in on the thread. I knew then that I had to meet Christine and hear her story. I just had a feeling that her God story was good enough to share with you all. So today, Christine, along with her husband Bill, are here for the first time, all the way from New Jersey. And I am hearing her story and meeting her for the first time right along with you. So it is with great excitement and pleasure I want to introduce Christine Abrams to you all. Okay, Christine, the moment we've been waiting for. But before we get to your God story, which I'm so excited to hear, listeners, I have not heard it yet. How did you hear about Bread Beckers?
Okay, well, it started about 3 months ago. I was really sick. Was on the couch for the whole weekend. I had really bad allergies, and I just was tired of feeling the way I was feeling. And I was crying out to God because I missed a ladies' retreat because I felt so bad. So that was the weekend. And Monday morning I woke up and got in the shower like I normally do. And all of a sudden, the Lord put on my heart the story of Joseph.
Oh, wow. And
all that came to me was the story of Joseph and how he stored grain. And I thought, where did that come from? Out of the blue, completely. And I thought, got done, went downstairs, went on my computer and searched in the YouTube, grain. And I thought, okay. And Grains and Grit came up.
Oh,
Felicia from Grains and Grit.
Yes.
She started talking about storing grain and the health benefits, and didn't really get much into the health benefits, but it was more of the storing grain. And I know when the Lord speaks to me, when he confirms something like that, because I thought, okay, because for a while now I've been feeling led to store and just be ready. There was just this sense of something was coming.
Yes.
So I started, and she mentioned Bread Beckers. And I thought, okay, Bread Beckers, let me look on, and your real bread video came up. And I thought, okay, what's a 3-hour video? I'm like, let me go take the dogs for a walk. And I just listened, and as I'm walking, and oh my goodness, everything came together because over 8 years ago, the Lord had me completely take everything out of my diet. I was plant-based, no coffee, no sugar, except for chocolate chips. And I
gotta have our chocolate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord.
So I did everything, healthy. My husband was dealing with issues at the time, so he came along with me. We did this for 3.5 years. And I realized I could no longer cook that way because my family didn't want to eat that way. So I started letting everything come back in. But what kept, this is where it gets crazy. But what I used to eat every single morning was oat groats and wheat berries.
Really?
Every single morning to this day, I have oat groats and wheat berries. And when I watched the video and I was like, wheat berries make bread? I had no idea that wheat berries made bread. I was eating it because of the consistency.
Okay, hold on a minute. Now, I know everybody's going to ask, how are you eating oat groats and wheat berries? Were you just boiling them?
I cooked it in my rice cooker.
Okay.
And I mixed the two. I added cinnamon and raisins, and then to that, and when I tell you I had a big bowl every single morning, it was a big bowl. People were amazed. I sent pictures to people. They could not believe what I ate.
Wow.
I would put nuts and seeds and coconut and honey, and that was the one thing I kept from my diet that I loved.
And you just cooked the whole oat groats and the whole
wheat oat groat and the whole wheat berry. And I started with oat groats. But the wheat berries is what made the texture better.
Yes.
It was
so nice
chewy and I loved it. Well, I started getting it from the Amish market and I would get 50-pound bags of wheat berries.
This is hilarious. And you not making
Had
bread.
no clue.
Oh,
Nobody told me this made bread. And all this time that I was eating healthy, the one thing that I still never got rid of was my bloated belly. I looked 6 months pregnant every day.
No way.
For over 8 years.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I'm eating all this fruit, vegetables, and it's got to make me gassy. That's what it is. But I was going to the store and getting Dave's Killer Bread, thinking, well, it's whole grain. But I wasn't putting anything together.
Yeah.
Then I listened to your video, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is true. Because not only, this is another thing that happened. So while I was eating the wheat berries, I got my monthly, and it was very heavy for 2 weeks. In fact, it was so heavy that I was 1 point away from needing a blood transfusion.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And so I all of a sudden started craving this oatmeal, and I didn't know why. And I'm like, okay, I'm eating it morning, I'm eating it at night. I never once took an iron supplement. My iron level went up. And I didn't even have to get an iron check. I knew it because no longer was I feeling faint. No longer was I out of breath. I felt my energy was back.
Yeah.
And I thought, I think there's something to do. But I had no clue. I had no clue. And then, so the bleeding was happening. So that went away.
So your cycles normalized?
My cycles,
once you added the grains back in?
Yes. And it happened again.
Okay.
About 2 years later. It happened again. I started craving it. Levels went back up. Never took an iron supplement. So in my own mind, not knowing anything about how great, this is. So not to mention, I started being able to drink milk. I started being able to, I was lactose intolerant.
For you, before this?
So before I started eating the wheat berries, I could not eat any dairy unless I took a pill. Those pills that you take to help.
Yeah, the lactate.
Yeah.
Give you the enzymes, yes.
I started noticing I could have milk. I have not been lactose, I have not since. And I said to people, the only thing that's different is this wheat berry.
And you're still not making bread. You're just eating
still not making bread.
Wheat berries and the whole oats. Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
oat groats.
Yes. And I'm thinking, no, that's what it is. And I'm like, but I don't know anything about this. So I'm assuming because it's the only thing that's different. And so to this day, I have not been lactose intolerant.
That's so funny. It's the bread. I'm telling you,
it's the
crazy.
bread.
That's why we have that slogan, because people go, this is the only thing I've done different. But for you, it was the whole wheat.
And your video said that.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, come on. It's the bread, really? Well, okay, so then when I watched your video and I learned that you can make bread, I thought, okay. I went in full force. I mean, everything. I knew it because of all the years that I had suffered. And I knew from day one, I have not been bloated for 3 months. Not one day. Not one day. And I was dealing with bloated, literally 6 months pregnant.
That's amazing.
For 8 years. So I literally am shouting it from the rooftops. And I walk through the store and I think, all this bread that I used to buy and all this bread that people are buying.
Thinking that it's healthy because they're buying the 100% whole grain. It's not the same as milling your own. Mm-mm.
And it is truly, truly a godsend. He's used you to change my life, and your knowledge and what you have, what you're doing is invaluable, and more people need to know this. Because people really don't know.
No, and the thing, the whole, I'm just going to say it, the Wheat Belly book that came out some years ago.
And I read part of that.
Yeah, that wheat is getting blamed for people having this belly, this bloating. It's getting blamed for inflammation, and it's just not correct.
It's not. And I can testify because I thought I was gluten intolerant like everybody else you hear. Yes. We kind of parrot each other. Like everybody's, oh yeah, I must be. But then I knew it the day that I changed the bread and made the bread. And it is really as good as you say it is.
It is delicious.
I mean, everybody loves it. I have had 5 people come to my home and do a class.
Oh my goodness.
I have already literally have shared it all throughout Facebook, anybody I can talk to. I am stopping people on the side of the road when I talk to them and telling them the story.
That is so great.
It is really, truly miraculous. And I think to myself, I used to make bread and I used to use the regular bread, the regular flour.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hand it to people. We would hand it out at church. We would hand it to people during COVID when everybody was home. And I remember in my mind always knowing Jesus says he's the bread of life. And yet I don't feel like this is really life. This is just fluff. This is just fun. This tastes good, but this isn't making sense to me. There's got to be something different. But I still did. That was 2020. I didn't even know back then.
That's amazing.
So when you had the class, that was it for me.
Yeah.
I knew immediately.
Yeah.
And I just want everyone to know because it's just truly life-changing. I mean, it really is. There's no exaggeration to this. I hear these stories from other people. I didn't believe anything. No, really, from everybody. There's so many fads and this and that. And nope, this is the real deal because God made it.
Yes, he did. And that the same aha moment that you had from my presentation was exactly what happened to me back in 1991. And I was a food science major. I studied food. I studied biochemistry, physiology. I studied all that. I didn't make the connection with the bread that we were eating and what had been done through the commercially processed process of taking the bran and germ out, removes all the minerals and vitamins and fiber. Yep. And what's saddened to me and what I'm hearing you saying that I'm so excited about is what I see happening is health professionals and people out there, they aren't differentiating between real wheat and the stuff that's in the store.
Definitely.
That chemically processed mess that says it's wheat bread, that is not wheat. That is something that came from wheat. And so that's something that I'm seeing is that people are attributing all these health issues to wheat. Yeah. When that's not really the case. So to hear you talk about bloating when that's the big thing came out, 10 years ago, the whole wheat belly syndrome, blaming wheat for our bloated bellies, it's just not correct. And now that's fascinating about your lactose intolerance. That's one I've not heard yet.
Yeah.
So that's exciting that it's giving our body what we need to digest the sugars and the fats, which I knew that. There's lots of vitamins and minerals in the bran and germ portion. So I had a lady visit our store that's been listening to the podcast, a lot like you, started a few months ago making her bread. And she said, kind of like you, she said, we had big things, big health issues that we noticed were greatly improved. But she goes, then I started noticing little ones. And she said, just little insignificant things that I had never thought about, like, oh, I can now drink milk, or, we no longer have snotty noses. And she said, it's just been amazing. She said, the big things. So anyway, I just thought that was exciting. And it made me start thinking about, Yeah, there was some little things that I would just go, oh, I don't crave sugar and cookies and things anymore. Oh, I have more energy.
Oh,
and you
yes.
kind of notice
No
when
cravings.
you have lots of kids. So you've got some more little It's the Bread stories.
Oh,
so
yes. Okay, so here's another
share
one.
those. Okay.
So I have 4 children.
Yes.
And not only do I have 4 children, they were all big babies. So I not only have 4 children, but I was also a surrogate. I delivered triplets for a family
goodness.
and had another child for another family. So I noticed, now that I'm 51,
Whoa. Wow, this is amazing. You just blew us away. This is so exciting. They
Yeah.
could not have a child on their own?
No, she could, but she couldn't carry it to term.
Okay.
So she lost 2 babies, and then she couldn't carry them because her uterus couldn't hold, her cervix couldn't hold the babies in.
Wow,
So,
Christine.
Yeah, so through that, and I could go into a whole nother story, but I really want to make it about the bread. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. I'm 51. I started leaking. And that's just a woman. I'm not embarrassed to admit it. And
Yeah.
I was just like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to need surgery. I started eating the bread. I never once thought of it. I have not leaked.
You're talking about loss of bladder control.
Loss of bladder
Okay.
control since I've been eating the bread.
3 months.
Yes, and I don't understand why.
No surgery.
No surgery.
medication.
Nothing.
That's
On a
amazing.
daily basis, it was happening. And I thought something is wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a scientific reason for that.
There is. I believe wheat is one of the richest food sources of vitamin E. Vitamin E nourishes every cell in our body.
Okay.
And there's other vitamins, minerals, and things that I attribute to the breads. I don't want to say miraculous because I don't want people to feel like, oh, eat this bread and it'll heal every sickness or disease you ever have. But vitamin E being critical to the integrity and the strength of every cell in our body is what I believe the reason we see so many diverse health benefits. So if your cells lack integrity, they're going to break down and die. Our cells die and reproduce every day. And so it depends on where those cells are and what cells they are, what organ or muscle that those cells are part of. Right. So if it's the muscles that help control your bladder control, now you're giving it the vitamin E. Now these cells are strengthened and able to be strong. So you're going to see muscle strength. I know Tiffany and I both, Tiffany's sitting here with us, our great podcast producer. She and I both saw that our babies born after bread didn't have the floppy necks. They had strong necks, could lift their head from day one. Unlike my other 5 children before bread, they had the normal floppy necks that people just say, oh, that's the way babies are born. They don't have the strength. Not after bread. My 2 babies born after that, I saw incredible muscle strength. So I don't know. I'd have to look into that. There may be other vitamins and minerals that would help as well. I don't doubt that. Wheat is one of the most nutritious foods. Grains in general are the most nutrient-dense food group that God's given us. But just off the top of my head, I'm thinking vitamin E is probably a lot of the reason there. In fact, it's funny, the lady that I just mentioned that said she saw so many little things, she said to me, she goes, you need to do a whole podcast just on vitamin E. She goes, it's amazing. So you've inspired me now. I need to do that whole podcast just on vitamin E because it touches literally every cell in our body. And prior to grains being fractured is what it's called in the industry, the bran and germ being sifted away, Americans probably consumed about 150 units of vitamin E a day. But after the bran and germ was removed, we lost that most prevalent vitamin E source, and now it's averaged that we only get about 7 units a day, which is so needed. Dr. Wilfred Shute, the world-renowned cardiologist, did research, and he was treating his heart patients with vitamin E. And he said, the biggest problem was now the bread had lost all of this because they were taking the wheat germ and the vitamin E out. It was losing it. So it's a big player. And I have an article I know on our website, and it's called Needed by Every Cell. And it is the vitamin E. It protects the strength and the integrity of every cell in our body. So if it's our veins, or if it's our muscles, or it's our eyes, or it's our skin, or it's our hair, where our genetic weak link is, and now we start giving our body what it needs, we're going to see changes, and that's just interesting.
It is very interesting, and it makes sense. Our whole body is made up of cells, and so it would affect every single part. We're all cells.
Yes.
So, and God really is, my relationship with Jesus has really gotten stronger through this. I've actually repented for the way I ate before, just in amazement of, you have provided this for us, and we've gone astray.
We've altered it. We've altered it. Your perfect provision, and then cry out to you for healing. Well, we wonder why we're sick, and then cry out to you for healing. And like I said, I know we live in a fallen world, and we live in a very toxic environment, and it's not a perfect world, and even our food is not perfect. So I don't want to give anyone the impression, eat this bread and you'll live forever and you'll never be sick again or anything. But what I have noticed is it is remarkable, and it truly is the bread, the things in our lives that it does touch. And I always laugh and tell people, well, at least you won't be constipated. You'll poop every day. So
that's true. And my kids are pooping every day.
Yes.
And my one son literally eats probably 4 to 5 slices a day.
Wow.
And he really does not eat healthy, but he's eating that. And I'm so thrilled because he loves it.
That is so good.
And I didn't have to do anything to the bread, like as far as, how doing white wheat versus red. No, I just did it, and they loved it from the beginning.
And that's what I loved about it. It's not healthy food we have to coerce our family to eat, even if, especially our teenagers, as they start going out on their own, they're not just right here at home. We kind of go, but at least they love the bread. It's not healthy food we have to coerce them to eat.
That's right.
They love it.
They love it. We do pancakes and waffles and muffins. My one son loves the muffins, so he has, you can make those muffins, and I've done sourdough with your sourdough class.
Oh, that's so great.
Wonderful. It's wonderful, and I'm learning all kinds of things. I made yogurt for the first time the other day, and I'm just learning so much about, and I wouldn't have known about kefir and all this.
So you mentioned you have 4 children.
Yes.
Tell me their ages.
Okay, so our oldest, David, is 31. Then we have Stephanie, who's 27. Then we have Cameron, who is 22. And then Justin's 21.
Wow, what a beautiful family.
Yeah.
That is so nice. That is so great. So you've been making the bread now for about 3 months.
3 months.
Amazing.
I will never go back. I took my kids out of school when they were in 7th and 8th grade. I knew nothing about homeschooling, but I knew that they would never go back to school. I didn't know anything about how to do it. That is the same with bread. I knew as soon as I listened to your video that I will never eat. And your story about going to Chick-fil-A with a roll? Okay, I relate, because I went to a barbecue the other day and I just brought my little roll, and I said, that was the other thing. I can eat burgers and hot dogs if I want, and I don't get bloated. I thought it was the meat.
No.
It was the roll.
Yes.
And I know this because I took so much out of my diet. When I say I went completely, I knew that I still was bloated. So I
even taking all those things that everybody else blames for this.
I had no processed food. I had nothing, but I had the one processed food, which was the bread.
Yeah.
And that was the
missing link.
That was the missing link.
And that's the way it was with us. We ate relatively healthy, not perfect, but relatively healthy before bread. And when we introduced the bread, it was like night and day. The health benefits that came to our family were pretty immediate, and it was like, wow, we were eating pretty healthy, except our bread.
Oh yeah, and that's a big portion.
It is, yes. And you know what most people don't realize is grains is the mainstay of food of the world. Other countries don't eat the meat like we do and the sugars and all of that. It's grains and beans, or it really has fed the world for years. Jesus compared himself to bread for a reason.
Yep.
John 6:35, Jesus says, I am the real bread of life. He who comes to me shall be satisfied. And when you were speaking earlier about giving bread away that was made with white flour, I thought about one of my favorite verses that I stumbled on shortly after we started doing real bread was Isaiah 55, verse 2. Why do you spend your money for that which is not bread, and your earnings for what does not satisfy?
Oh, yes.
That's a powerful verse, and we wonder why we're obese and why we're sick, and we just need to come back to God's way of being and doing and eating His perfect provision. So, Christine, I just want to thank you and your husband, Bill, for joining us today. I know your trip was already planned to come to Georgia, but I just want to thank you for taking the time to share your story with the listeners today.
And I want to thank you for having me on to be able to share this amazing, amazing gift from God.
Well, it was our pleasure. You blessed me more than you can know. Almost got teary-eyed a couple of times there just listening to your story. So thank you for listening today. I hope you are as encouraged as I am from hearing Christine's story. This is Sue Becker from the Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.
So, okay, Christine, here it is. Here's our store. This is what you came for. Right? Well, you came to meet me too.
Oh, of course, of course.
But you mentioned a couple of things that you forgot.
Yes.
That always happens that you were your mind was your memory was jogged as we hiked up here to the store. Yeah. So
the biggest, one of the biggest was that I was able to eat bread am able to eat bread all day, and I lost 10 pounds.
That's a biggie.
That's
where everybody's like, oh, if I eat this bread,
Yes.
I'll gain weight or it'll make me fat.
Yes.
That's not true.
And
Not
my
when it's real
husband
bread.
didn't start losing weight until we started eating bread. He was on a Peloton 3 times a week, and his weight started coming off as soon as we started eating bread.
That's great.
Because I believe it gives us all the nutrients we need. We have no desire for the junk.
Right.
I no longer have cravings.
Yes. That's amazing.
I questioned that when you said that. I was like,
know.
I don't think so. But nope, I have no cravings. I don't eat junk. I'm nothing processed. I am so filled with the bread. So another thing was when we originally wanted to get the wheat, we wanted to get it in a large quantity because I knew that there was a shortage, and so I ordered 8 50-pound bags of hard white and 8 50-pound bags of hard red. Thinking in my mind it was only 300 pounds. I'm very bad at math, and then I was talking to a friend who said,
That's
800
800 pounds of grains.
But the Lord put those numbers, and but I love giving it away. I love sharing it so that people see how great it is.
Yes.
And they don't understand it until they taste it. So I'm really glad that I got the amount I did.
Well, we want to welcome you to our store.
I'm
here
excited.
At
I have a lot of
Beckers.
great things here. I am very excited. I will be shopping here.
Okay.
And I might empty your store.
That would be pretty hard, but we love it. We'll fill your car for sure.
We have a space, trust me.
All right. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing. Enjoy our store and our shopping experience here at Bread Beckers.